Good morning, how are you doing? This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant morning, and here we are with the October edition of Druthers. And yeah, I'm going to do this week, they have a section here called Freedom Wins, and these are some of the amazing stories that we're actually pulling ahead on and gaining some traction in the room of common sense. Now, one of the things that you can do as well if you want to help out activism and to change the world is to subscribe to this little newspaper. We are missing so much of this kind of stuff. It's unbelievable. Now, I just want to give you a bit of a background for myself. I started being an activist when I was around about 18. That was in the early 70s, and we were protesting the Vietnam War and Nixon and all of that kind of stuff, and it really has been a non-stop journey since then. What we're looking at 53 years of activism, and I find it amazing also that we're still struggling with the same problems that we had back in the 70s. One of the things we used to do when I was at college is that we would take over a building, an empty building that was just sitting there for tax purposes as a write-off, when we had homeless people on the street, and we used to call it a squat. And all the students would pile in there and take it over. We'd get the water switched back on, the hydro switched back on. There'd be protest signs everywhere, and then we would start moving in people off the street in the wintertime, so they had a warm, dry place where they could cook food and take care of personal hygiene and that kind of stuff. And it's just been an ongoing story right up until the present day, and here we are, let's say, struggling with the same old issues. And the only way that we can change this is through subscribing to newspapers like this, enlightening yourself as to what is actually going on, and speaking out. I cannot urge you enough. Speaking out and speaking freely, you encourage what they call the bystander effect. If you show the courage just to speak out, you encourage others. You give them permission to say the things that are on their mind. I meet a lot of people in my day-to-day world, and it is absolutely amazing, when you start chatting to them, how many people are thinking the same things that you are. The bad management, the wastage of money, sending money overseas when we desperately need it in our own country for our own people. So please do not remain silent. It is not a crime to talk about politics or to have a different opinion, okay? And this is how we learn, this is how we change, this is how we choose the correct path. And I don't actually think there is one correct path. We kind of close in on the right thing to do, and we keep moving forward, and as things change on the ground, so our decisions have to change. Anyway, I intend to remain an activist for as long as I live, and I will continue to speak out against things which don't make sense, which actually do more harm than good, and I see that as my absolute right and duty as a human being on this planet, to be of service to others as much as I can, and to stand strong. Stand strong in the face of adversity. Okay, so let's go to these Freedom Wins, and I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. Okay, here we go. So here we go, Freedom Wins. 1 year after Canada banned its use following an EPA warning, the US Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has finally issued an emergency ban on DCPA, a herbicide commonly used on broccoli and cabbage farms. The EPA cited concerns that the chemical appears to cause damage to unborn children. The EPA has labelled DCPA as a likely carcinogen since 1995, and the European Union banned the chemical in 2009. What took so long here? The EPA claims it endured several years of unprecedented efforts to force the agriculture conglomerate AMVAC, the primary manufacturer of the chemical, to fork over data on the safety of its product, highlighting a flawed system where biased manufacturers are influencing public health information. Isn't that the truth? Federal court rules that fluoridation chemicals pose an unreasonable risk to human health. Well, fancy that. We've been saying this for years. Good heavens. In a precedent-setting court case, after 7 years of pursuing legal action against the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the United States District Court of the Northern District of California has deemed fluoridation an unreasonable risk to the health of children, and the EPA will be forced to regulate it as such. Now, I love this win. The Bank of Canada has dropped its plan to issue a digital Canadian dollar. A statement on the Bank of Canada's website announced that it is scaling down its work on a retail central bank digital currency and shifting its focus to broader payment system research and policy development. And I think this is because these digital dollars are not going over well worldwide. Wherever a pilot program has been rolled out, there has been big public opposition, and I think that's what's happening here. Thank goodness. But don't forget, it's just been put on the shelf. It hasn't been scrapped completely. In its updated guidance for CV boosters for fall and winter 2024 and 2025 season, the Florida Department of Health warned the public about safety and efficacy concerns of the mRNA CV inoculation. They also advocated for physicians to give informed consent to patients, as if they really should be told about that. We should always have informed consent. We are reminding healthcare providers of the importance of remaining up to date with the current literature related to the CV inoculations and boosters, and the importance of providing patients with informed consent. The Omicron variant, which is not causing a significant number of infections, this booster does not protect against the current dominant strain. The State Surgeon General advises against the use of mRNA inoculations. Providers and patients should be aware of outstanding inoculation safety and efficacy concerns. The mRNA inoculations present a risk of subclinical and clinical myocarditis. The mRNA inoculation may be associated with an increased risk of postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, whatever the heck that is, including systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, and psoriasis. As efficacy waned, studies showed that inoculated individuals developed an increased risk for infection. Improving habits and overall health help manage and reduce the risk factors for serious illness from CV. An Alberta pastor who was criminally charged for protesting a drag queen story hour for children at a public library has been found not guilty. The Alberta Court of Justice has acquitted Pastor Derek Reimer on 2 charges causing a disturbance and mischief relating to his protest at a Calgary public library during a reading with royalty event featuring drag queens reading stories to children. Now, these are great precedents that are being set right now in the courts. A federal employee placed on unpaid leave for not disclosing his inoculation status has won his appeal for EI benefits. The Social Security Tribunal of Canada granted an appeal to Andre Givogue, a federal government employee who works remotely. Givogue's suspension was initially categorized as misconduct, which would have disqualified him from receiving EI employment insurance benefits. 20 U.S. Attorneys General signed a letter to the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, warning the Medical Association that its statements supporting gender medical interventions for children are deceptive and may violate the state's consumer protection laws. The letter, led by Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador, asked the AAP to substantiate its claims that puberty blockers are reversible and to provide information on its communications surrounding its gender medicine guidance. This is another big win. Ireland drops plans for hate speech law. Earlier this year, the Irish government had announced plans to curb hate speech through legislation that would criminalise possessing vaguely defined hateful material, allowing officials to raid homes, demand passwords, seize devices, and impose 1-year prison sentences for non-compliance. And so, yes, that's why it should be repealed. That is completely over the top. Regina City Council has voted against a motion to rename one of the city's longest roads, Dudney Avenue. In recent years there's been growing momentum to rebrand the street after it became known that Edgar Dudney, for whom the avenue is named, played a significant role in shaping early policies related to Canada's reserve system. Thankfully, council members acknowledge that spending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on such a change would be an unnecessary and unjustifiable expense. There you go. Finally, common sense rules. A review study strongly highlights the relationship between organic food and overall health. The study, published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found a significant inverse relationship between organic food consumption and cardiometabolic risk factors, including obesity, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and hyperlipidemia, was observed in the majority of prospective studies. Clinical trials consistently indicate lower pesticide exposure in participants on organic diets suggested potential health benefits. Well, it's not just suggested health benefits. Trust me, eating organic is the best thing that you can do for your body. And last but not least, Meta Platforms lost a $1.4 billion lawsuit brought by the state of Texas over its unauthorized capture and use of the personal biometric data of Facebook users. Ha! Fancy that! Facebook's parent company was found to be using facial recognition technology to collect biometric data of more than 20 million Texans without their permission. The information was captured by photos and videos uploaded to the social media platform. The settlement is the largest obtained in a lawsuit brought by a single state. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that it does show that we're not all just moving backwards in the face of this onslaught of what they call the Great Resetting, and that we are basically holding our ground. And I think they're panicked. I really think they're panicked because the level of censorship has gone through the roof, and there's only one reason why people want to shut down your opinion. And that is because they are frightened that you will show that they are wrong and that they need to change, not you. Okay, so as I say, continue to speak up and don't be afraid. Be fearless. Be fearless in the face of adversity. And speak the truth, whatever the cost. And after all these years, I would rather go down speaking the truth from what I see with my own two eyes and applying a little bit of common sense analysis than to pollute my mind and pathologize my mind by trying to accept that which is obviously not true and not correct. How many fingers, Winston? How many fingers, Winston? There you go. And that's what happens if you give in and you allow yourself to not using common sense and realizing what's going on. It really does have a very drastic effect on the way you see the world and how you will continue to see the world in the future, because once you swallow one lie, the next one's a lot easier. Okay, so in the meantime, this is Houndog signing off, wishing you a very pleasant Thanksgiving. Yes, it's Thanksgiving weekend, and I think we have a lot to give thanks for. Okay, so we'll talk to you very, very shortly, and you take care of yourself and have a great, great turkey dinner. See you now. Bye.